Ponder this. With the general election right around the corner, the nation may just witness the ascension of the United States' very first female president. With the first female president, the first gentleman, is also a distinct possibility. That thought has not escaped the imagination of acclaimed author, a former chief of staff in the U.S. House of Representatives, political analyst, among other things, Gerald Weaver, who has penned his second novel with that very same title. The First Gentleman is a novel, a love story and a thriller, all the while providing honest and insightful commentary on the nation's political system. And I'm pleased to have joining us now to discuss all of this and the current state of politics, Gerald Weaver. Very nice to have you here with us.
Thank you for having me here.
Now, people I'm sure will see this title and think, well, he just must have written this about 2 months ago. Reality is, how long ago did you start working?
Well, actually, the U.S. copyright is April 2014, so I started it 3 years ago.
And what was it, I always like to ask authors, where did the idea come from? So where did this idea come from?
Well, it came from two places. One of the things I saw coming was that the American voter were hungry for any candidate who was going to puncture the political orthodoxy. Voters have seen candidates speak canned speeches and follow the polls, and they were just waiting for somebody to break out of the mold. And in a way, Obama, by his identity, broke out of the mold. So I think that there's a hunger for that. And the second thing I think I see coming, and I wanted to sort of hurry along, is I think there's going to be a change in gender roles at some point. Maybe not in my lifetime, but soon.
So let's talk about the book, because I want people to understand it is a novel. It is both a thriller and a love story, which is sort of an interesting combination here. So let me ask you to tell us a little bit about each of the main characters, enough for us to tease our viewers here that they're going to want to do this. So you start off with Melinda Sherman, all right?
Right.
And who is Melinda Sherman?
Melinda Sherman's a sort of psychologically and physically wounded war hero who grows up in a difficult family, and she's got issues to overcome, and she never has an idea of running for Congress. She goes and serves in the Navy, and she's a pilot, and she fights in the Iraq War, and she's kind of lost, actually. And then she meets Garth Teller, who's the male, and he's considerably older. He's a divorced father, and one of the reasons I wanted to cast this relationship like that is he does very little else besides support and nurture her, but he's still a manly man. This is the first gentleman, and helps to remake gender roles, because he's still a man, but he's able to play a secondary role, and she likes him because he's nurturing, and he actually nurtures her to the point of being a tremendously successful politician.
And as we say, not just a political novel or a sort of a love story here, but also a thriller. What's going on here that's going to thrill the readers?
Well, it's there are dark forces at work who obviously don't want to see her become president. Some of them are conservative, and some of them misogynistic, and some of them just don't like her. So there's elements from both their pasts as well, which is sort of Dickensian, but they're being tracked and followed, and you sort of know what the outcome's going to be, but hopefully you care enough about the characters that you pay attention to.
When you were writing these characters, did any elements of any of the other political figures that you either encountered in your life or are out there now, did any of them make their way into these characters?
Well, certainly, like I said, Obama was a game changer and an unorthodox candidate by virtue of his identity, but I thought of Rand Paul and some other characters who had been on the fringes but never were picked up. And I figured that somebody who just started saying different things would be popular. I didn't really have anybody particular in mind, but Calvin Trillin, the great humorist, once said, if you start to write satire in this day and age, and he was speaking of Nixon and Reagan, what happens is reality will exceed the satire by the time the book is off the presses. And sort of has happened to that. My candidate says a lot of unorthodox things that have been echoed by both Trump and Sanders.
Let's talk a little bit about current day politics. As I mentioned in the introduction, you were at one point in time the youngest chief of staff in the House of Representatives. You worked as a political analyst, as a lobbyist, right. Seen all aspects of this. And as a writer here, all right, how would you, if you were going to pen in a couple of sentences this campaign that's taking place, the presidential campaign in 2016, what sort of captions do you think you'd look for?
The reality television has collided with news television, and the 24/7 news cycle. And I think it's changed what we consider news or even politics dramatically. It's a lot of people are, waiting to see what happens next, and I think Trump gets away with a lot because it's always a new crazy thing that comes up, and so.
Let me ask you something. You mentioned Donald Trump, and we've had people come on to talk about him. They've criticized him. We've had people come on who support him. But I'm struck by one thing. You and I talked about this one time before. You worked with Joe Biden and his campaign in the state of Pennsylvania when he was running for president. And people may well remember, some might not, that essentially he was kind of forced out of the campaign because of allegations that he had plagiarized part of a speech. When you look at the accusations being delivered at both of our candidates now, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, it almost seems quaint that somebody would be forced off the campaign trail because they allegedly plagiarized a couple of lines from a speech that the European leader had given once before. How do you see that?
I think all bets are off. I mean, it's clear that you can get away with a lot more, largely because I think the people are immunized by watching Kim Kardashian or watching Honey Boo Boo or whatever. And in the 24/7 news cycle where, the next thing comes up to stop and think about one particular, plagiarism charge or some, peccadillo that would really have killed a candidate. And once upon a time, we would write a book like this, you would have to write the candidates cautiously to mirror the way we would have run a campaign to make the candidate cautiously. And so now it almost requires a lot more imagination and to write the book, but to catch up to reality. So
a different time, as you said. Well, once again, the book is called The First Gentleman. Gerald Weaver. It's a fun read, as you said, thriller, love story. Look at inside politics, all sorts of things. Good to have you on.
Thank you.
Be well.
All right.